Welcome to the Mobile Workforce Podcast, where we sit down and have real conversations with business leaders that have been where you are. During these interviews, we'll dive into what it takes to improve systems and champion processes that maximize performance. Each week, our trailblazing guests share their experiences and understanding of the workforce to help inspire change, challenge our thinking, and share what it takes to successfully travel the road to profitability. Now here's our host, co-founder and chief evangelist of About Time and WorkMax, Mike Merrill.
All right, Dennis, welcome back. I think we just scratched the surface on the last episode, and so I felt like it would make sense to maybe have you back another time or two and see if we can really knock out this topic and help these folks out. How does that sound to you?
Glad to do so. Yeah, I agree with you. We got more to talk about.
Awesome. Well, so let's just start right off the bat here. Can you just tell me about a little bit more on your top 10 listed soft skills from your book, and let's dive into those a little more.
Yeah, the methodology that produced those top 10, and what I'm doing is I'm grabbing my book to make sure that I mention them correctly. The methodologies, I put together a list of about 40 or 45 words that describe a person's qualities. And I sent that out to somewhere around 36, 37 people across the construction industry at all levels, different disciplines. And I took those words and I broke them into 3 lists. And I asked them to force rank those lists to come up with the qualities that were the most important to them individually. And then I tallied the results of that, and that produced the top 10 that is in the book. And again, it's interesting because it probably isn't any surprise when you look at those things and you see what the first 10 were. They all make sense. There frankly weren't any surprises in this exercise. I thought one of the things which was the most interesting actually was that the overall top quality that was mentioned by folks was trustworthiness, and that it was followed then by additional qualities, beginning with honest as a quality, followed by integrity, followed by ethical, and then the fifth was authentic. And so if you think about those, and again, I ask people to pick words and rank them in a certain order. So you might say, well, why would they pick any of those other 4 words when they'd already picked trustworthy? Well, there's a good reason for that. Because trustworthy, that's kind of the capstone personal quality. If you want to say one thing about a person that you're interested in building a relationship with, to describe that person as being trustworthy, that's a loaded, strong statement. That means that they are ethical, that they are honest, that they are authentic. Again, it says a lot of things about them with that one word. But in order to get to that overall quality, which again was the number one in those first 10, you've got to do all those other things, and it has to be over a period of time. You don't walk into a room, see a person, shake their hand, and say, you know what, I think you're trustworthy, and then you find out later that he's a serial killer. Again, that maybe as an extreme example, but let's say not a nice guy or gal. But so again, it takes a lot for us to be able to help people that know us understand what's important to us in terms of qualities. So I have to do and say things, and this is kind of the whole game is right in there. And doing and saying things and being consistent between those 2 things happens to be one of the qualities as well. It's integrity. If I say I'm going to do it, I do it. It's that simple. So if you say that about a person, that's pretty strong all by itself. But trust extends to a much fuller aspect of the relationship between individuals. And that's why I topped out the list.
Yeah, and I think even, trust, it's like if somebody knew I had integrity, I was trustworthy, I fulfilled those top 5, those values, then they're also going to trust that if I'm making a decision, it's probably based on those same things. And so it's probably a good decision. It may not be the only choice or may not be necessarily the best, but it's not a poor choice because I'm using those filters in order to come to that conclusion. And so now, if my leader has those other qualities, I can have a great degree of confidence that it's probably the right thing to do, and I can follow without question, and I'm not wasting time. And I'm also, again, giving that trust back to them, which again, that's integrity between the relationship, right?
Yeah. If you wanted to learn some things about another person that you had a relationship with for a period of time, um, one of the simplest ways that you can learn more about that person is to talk to a few people that also know that person, know them well. So not just a casual relationship. Know them well and ask them to describe that person in words. Somebody might call and say, "I want you to describe Mike in words." Um, the first few words, first few sentences, as just a spontaneous response to that question, would likely be things that are more technical, managerial, or hard skill in nature. But pretty soon, maybe after one or two or three sentences, and say, "What? Anything else?" Then they will start to talk about the things which constitute their soft skills. Because again, if you view somebody in a positive way, you don't just view them in a positive way because you know that they're very, very good at what they do in the immediate aspects of doing their job, filling their role. They're really good at it because of how they do it. Which again, I say that a lot. This notion of how you are when you do what you do. That's why 6 and 7 come in after those important qualities as a good communicator and good listener. That's 6 and 7, right there in the middle of the pack, where it should be. And so again, as you get to know yourself, one of the most important opportunities using this kind of a framework, some words that people thought were very important to the point where they got ranked in this particular order, is to look at those words and ask yourself the question: what do those words mean to me? And how are they seen or heard or understood in my life? Why is so? What about trustworthy? What is it meant to me? And just to kind of evaluate it for yourself. Again, these are all good things. I mean, these are not the list of your top weaknesses. Again, out of this exercise, though, because if you're being honest with yourself, then you're going to recognize both the good things about yourself and the things that you could work on. Notice I said work on rather than just bad, because again, we're human beings. We're everything's not perfect all the time. So we've got to understand our best qualities, our best soft skills, be aware of them all the time, and make sure that we recognize that it's important that how we do what we do with people reflects those. Because again, as we grow in responsibility, I say this often, higher up you are in the org chart, the more people are, because there's only like one of you up at the top. So everybody's looking at that one person at the top, and they've got a microphone, and when they say things, they hear what that person says, and they want to see if what they see and what they hear are the same.
Yeah, that's a great point. So the other thing that came to mind, we're talking about, you went through the first, I think, 7, and I think as you look at those and how they interrelate to each other, I think there's again, they're like pieces to the puzzle. Without the one, it's not quite complete. There's a glaring hole, but they're all interconnected, again, like puzzle pieces. And I think, to your point, those actions and the way that we behave and carry ourselves while we are saying and doing these things, and just the overall integrity that we display as a leader is paramount in importance in any organization, right?
Yeah, and these qualities don't just apply to people in middle and upper management or the C-suite. The idea of individuals understanding what their qualities are, both using again different ways of doing it, like this exercise. That's why I put it in the book. One of the suggestions that my mentor Steve Farber made was, put an anchoring activity in the front of your book, so that people immediately can relate to something that they have to do before they go on to read, which made total sense to me. So that's why the survey is pretty much the first part of the book. And I even leave pages in the book where they can actually put the responses to the survey right in the book. I made this book conversational, and I made it as practical as I could, using, language and examples and verbiage that people could have an opportunity to understand and do something with.
I want to thank our sponsor, Foundation Software. Foundation Software simplifies construction operations with a comprehensive suite of different software tools, which include construction job costing and accounting, also project management, estimating, safety, mobile time apps, and construction-specific payroll services. With a singular focus on construction since 1985, Foundation continues to enhance its product offerings. Over the years, they've introduced a construction-specific payroll processing service, including trade-specific estimating solutions known as McCormick Systems and also Estimating Edge. They also have a collection of field-to-office apps called HQ Suite that includes both popular Safety HQ and Project HQ add-ons that integrate with Foundation, and most recently introduced WorkMax time tracking, in addition to its best-class product offerings. Foundation Software is known as an industry leader in training, ongoing support, and programs that help clients continue to educate and grow. They are a partner that's committed to helping contractors on the business side of construction. For more information, call 1-800-246-0800 or email at info@foundationsoft.com or click the link below in the episode description. Love that. So is there a story in doing your research that you came across or an example that you raise in the book where these things are put into play and maybe we can,
Yeah, I wish I had marked a few pages. There are, one of the things I ask people to do, I asked the general question, what does the word soft skills mean to you? What does the word emotional intelligence mean to you? And I had the responses to that in the book. But then I went on and again took the top 3 qualities from the folks I interviewed and asked them to say what that word means to them. And if they can, give me an example from your life how that was important to you. And the quoted material where they gave examples after they explained what it meant to them, they're all priceless. There was one in particular, I know I won't find the page or pages, was from someone who was had a 40+ year career as a glazer. Again, you know what a glazer is. So this guy was a glazer, and he told this story that went on for 3 pages in the book. And as I was reading it in my notes, because I transcribed all the interviews, I was reading through the notes to find the words I would bring into the book. I started reading his story, and it was going on and on and on, and it just kept saying, I can't change this. I mean, it's too good. It was so close to it was reality. I mean, you could feel what he was talking about. He's talking about this job site and this situation. It was just an incredible story. He's become a very good friend of mine. He's retired now, but he kind of laughed when I told that I put 3 pages of what he said in a book. He said, I don't think I've read a book that was 3 pages long lately. I said, well, you're going to have to read one now. But so it's people can relate to what these words mean, but the only thing that's been absent is that there hasn't been a consistent channel to bring the notion of these things being important into the mainstream. Again, when we train trainers in the apprenticeship programs, we put them through trainer training, and it teaches them how to use PowerPoints, how to use different modalities in the training session, all this other great stuff. But we don't spend enough time, even there, teaching them how to put the right kind of energy into how they do what they do, that draw on what they're feeling about the crafts that they're teaching, and encourage people and use qualities that they need to possess. And if they don't necessarily have all the qualities, as an example, patience is a quality of a person. To be a patient person is not a bad thing. Sometimes in construction, it gets misinterpreted because somebody who's patient sometimes seems like they're getting walked all over, but that's not necessarily what's happening. So patience is important, and some of the best tradespeople, hands-on, are not the most patient people. They know how to get the job done. They know how to do it right. Just get the hell out of my way. Let me do it. And if you're teaching someone, you've got to demonstrate so that they can feel it. You've got to demonstrate patience, even though your teeth are you're about ready to break your front teeth off because you want to just grab the tool and say, just let me do it. But you can't do that. But if we don't shine more light on the value of understanding the qualities they have and also their personality. I talk about personality quite a bit too, because we're all different. We all, some people are really extroverted, and they're smiley and they're out there, and other ones are the life of the party. Other people keep their heads down, do a great job, but they're not your best communicators. So that means if they're moving up in responsibility in an organization and they're an introvert, they're moving based on the solid foundation of their technical skills. But it's not going to be too long before they're going to hit a bump, if not a wall, because they are not able to communicate as effectively as they need to in order to be able to take their technical background and now spread it into trying to manage people.
Yeah, this is interesting. I've had this thought just pop into my brain here. So just this last week, pretty fascinating little story, practical application of exactly what you're talking about, and even what we talked about in the first episode. So my daughter and son-in-law are remodeling a home. They bought an old home. It's 45 years old. They're remodeling it. They don't really know what they're doing, but they're figuring it out. I was a builder, so I've been helping and advising. I've been real busy and, try and get over there a night or two during the week and help advise and direct. Well, my father-in-law, who I first started working for, was a builder. That's where I grew up in construction, working for him out of high school. And we borrowed his dump trailer. Well, anybody who's ever used a dump trailer, it's got a button and it'll dump, but the battery's got to be charged. There's some things that you got to do. Otherwise, it's a mess because, you fill that thing chock full. If you got to manually remove all that trash there at the dump, it's a lot of work. You got nails poking everywhere. It's a safety hazard to begin with. But anyway, my son-in-law said, "Hey, Dad, can you come and dump this trailer?" Yeah, absolutely, no problem. So I go out to dump it, and I hook on, and I plug it in, and I said, "It looks like everything's ready to go." Well, it has this cover that cranks and wads up and rolls up so you can put it nice. But when you take these loads in, they have to be covered, or they'll either fine you or charge you extra. You're going to have debris blowing out. So, well, the cover wasn't on, and I thought, okay. I show him, "Hey, we got to put this cover on before we take it, maybe next time, have this cover on so I could just hook on and go when I come, right, to help you out." So, "Oh, yeah, sorry about that." Well, I get down to the dump, and it's about 20 minutes away, and I go to dump the thing, push the button, the battery starts clicking at me, and I'm like, "Oh, man." And we were trying to get out of town. We're on our way to a family reunion, had a 4-hour drive ahead of us. So I don't really have time to be dealing with any of this to begin with, but, I'm helping him out. So I call him and said, "Hey, this dump trailer," actually, he didn't even answer. So then I called my father-in-law right after, and I said, "Hey, is this battery having a problem?" And he said, "Oh, I told Charlie, my son-in-law, to make sure he charged it. The battery was low, and he knew that. I told him. And by the way, did he fill the one of the back tires up also?" I don't know. He didn't say anything about any of that. So, oh boy. Well, I told him. So anyway, I finally get a hold of my son-in-law and said, "Hey, Charlie, you didn't charge the battery." And he's, "Oh, shoot. Dang it. Yeah, I forgot. We got busy. And it was like a week ago. And so now I've got one set of jumper cables, but not two. I can't unhook the trailer. Otherwise I can't undo it. I got to have it up to the truck to dump it. But I got like 8,000 pounds of garbage in this thing. So now he's got to drive 20 minutes. I got to wait for him for 20 minutes to come down with jumper cables to jump the dump trailer. So he comes all the way down. Anyway, we go through all that, get it dumped. I haul it back up, drop it off at his house, and go to this family reunion. Well, I get back into town this last week. I said, "Hey, I'm coming back to the airport. I'll go dump it again for you." They got it filled back up, right? I get there. And I said, "Did you charge the battery? I'm texting him from the airport. I'm an hour away. Did you charge the battery?" "I'm doing it right now." So he still hadn't. And I'm like, oh my gosh, So I get back there. He hasn't charged it. I said, "Give me your jumper cables. I've got a set. I'll plan ahead here." And I look at the charger, and he's got this little teeny motorcycle trickle. I'm like, that's not going to charge this thing, and not for an hour. If you left it on for like a week, maybe. So anyway, another lesson learned. So I said, Charlie, listen, I'm going to tell you this with love and patience because I care about you and I want you to understand. I'm happy to help you. I'm so grateful to have the opportunity. Your grandfather-in-law, my father-in-law, is happy to let us use his trailer, but we didn't charge it before. You still haven't charged it. Now I'm back to help you a second time. The cover's not on. It's not ready to dump. That tire is still low with air. Anyway, he hadn't done any of the things still, and it's been maybe 2 weeks. So I told him, if I was working for my father-in-law in high school and I had this happen, you have no idea how many cuss words and curse words, how upset he would be at me. Now, he didn't grow up in construction. Your dad was a college professor in film and digital technology, not construction. I know that he didn't have the opportunity to teach you this. I'm your father-in-law. I'm going to help you understand. But when you ask somebody for help and they're willing to give it, you need to make sure every single thing is ready for them to render that help for you, and that you make it very convenient for them. Because I came back here and this is a mess. Like, I got to go spend another hour and worry about all these things now that weren't taken care of. So thank you. I understand loud and clear. I'm so sorry. I promise next time it'll be charged. The tire will be full. Everything will be ready. It'll be covered. You could just take it in 20 minutes and come right back. And there won't be any issues. And I said, great, perfect, no problem. No hard feelings. I just want to help you understand so that you can be better. And this is part of being, a experienced, seasoned adult with wisdom versus knowledge or whatever it is that you're at right now in this phase of things. And anyway, so it was just a life lesson that I realized that, and I told him, because I have pride and integrity and I love you and I care about you, I'm going to share this with you, not because I'm angry, but so I did do it with love. I did extend grace. I did try and communicate very clearly the expectation. Even though I felt like I did it before, the message didn't get through. And I didn't connect those dots for him. And so I thought, okay, here's an opportunity to impart wisdom and share a lesson. And hopefully he'll be, better in other areas of life because of that. But so right in line with everything you're talking about here.
Well, in our industry, we talk about getting the job done, and we tell people what to do, and we ask them the question, "You got it?" And they without even a thought, they will say, "Yeah," and they'll walk away, and they don't take 5 steps, and the first thought going through their mind is, "What the hell did he just say?" Charlie did some of that to you, because again, part of communication, is to make sure we do have mutual understanding is to confirm. It's to say, Charlie, what are the 3 things that you've got to get done? And you may have done it, but if he didn't acknowledge it, it may not have got into the recorder. But overall, you did a hell of a job, Mike. I'm proud of you. I'm glad to know you, and I think you've got great potential as a leader.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And hey, that's good. That's the goal, right? Well, yeah. We're all on our journey. We all have potential. I love something you said earlier before we wrap up, and that was mistakes or weaknesses, as we may term them, which is okay. We have weaknesses. We are weak in areas of our life. Those are opportunities. That's not a problem. Weakness is good. And it's great to identify it because now I know what to strengthen. Now I know where I can shore something else up so that I have more integrity as a whole. And these top 10 items and beyond, all 45 in your book, are like a pyramid where with this firm foundation down here and the top of the pyramid is solid, pointed north where it needs to be. And I just think it's a better way to live. It's a better way to do business. It's a better way to serve as a servant leader. And also it's a better way to be an employee working towards that same top of the pyramid.
And the icing on that cake is to recognize that there's not anything about ourselves, nothing that we can't change if we don't put our mind to it, we can change anything. We can get better. We can shore up a weakness. We can turn it around. We could learn more things. If we have a little problem with some critical aspect of how we deal with people, all we got to do is recognize that that's a weakness, it's an opportunity for improvement, and just and work on it. But most importantly, work on it. And the best setting to do it is to work on it with someone else helping you. Again, self-improvement is not really self-improvement. It's improving self with the help of others.
Beautiful. Love that. Well, I think that's a great thought to end on. Again, another wonderful conversation. I think we probably ought to do one more episode. I know there's more to get to in your book, and I just feel like this is a very important topic, and it applies to all of us, not just in business, but truly in our day-to-day life with our family, our loved ones, our neighbors, and
absolutely,
our coworkers. So.
Absolutely. Good talk.
Awesome. Mike. Thanks again, Dennis. We'll catch up again soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us today on the Mobile Workforce Podcast, sponsored by About Time Technologies and WorkMax. If you liked the conversation we had today, or were able to learn anything new or helpful, please make sure to follow us on our WorkMax page on LinkedIn and on Instagram at WorkMax_. And subscribe to the show on iTunes or your preferred podcast platform so you will never miss another insightful episode. Also, if you enjoyed the podcast, please leave us a 5-star rating and review and share the show with your friends and colleagues. Your support means the world to us and will allow us to continue providing impactful information with others looking to improve their results in their business and, in turn, their life.